Silent G, he reminds me. Mr. Campogni.
How you doing now?
Good.
I've been watching you since I was a little baby.
Oh,
So
Lord.
this is amazing.
Here's another one of those.
All right, look, I'm a dad of 2 children adopted through the Florida foster care system. I am the son of a public school teacher. Both my children go to public school. I am the husband of a social worker. And I've spent the last 15 and a half years working with the most at-risk youth in Pinellas County and all across Central Florida. I will not tell you that I have all the answers or the insider experience that some of the other candidates have. I don't. But I am a dad, and I have a different perspective, and I have a proven track record to dedicate myself to helping youth, specifically those in Pinellas County, and I can't wait to have a conversation with all of you tonight. Thank you.
Sadly, by every statistical measure nationwide, we are seeing a dramatic decline in reading, writing, and math scores. What's your plan to make sure Pinellas numbers are on the right track for improvements?
So the first thing I did when I was thinking about this topic is I got to go actually talk to teachers. And the overwhelming opinion was that we need to invest more in pre-K and kindergarten literacy. When kids get to 3rd grade and they're already working from behind just to catch up, and then the teacher's responsible for getting them ready for a test that they're not even prepared for because we didn't invest enough on the front end. We need to plant trees for shade that we will not see and invest more funds and resources early on, even though the testing and the measurements will not show you until later on. The other thing is, my little girl Maggie, she loves reading, and she won the reading challenge over Christmas break and won a tablet. Thank you, Pinellas County Schools.
There we go. Why do you think so many parents are choosing to send their kids to private schools or to homeschool their children? And what can you do to reverse that trend? Mr. Campogni, you're first.
That's an easy question for 1 minute. I got you. Thank you, Al. Yes. I think everything boils down to, with enrollment issues, to a trust issue. And what you said is a really good point. We need to circle back with those parents that chose other alternatives and find out why. I don't think we should demonize or categorize someone who made a decision not to go in public school. I think public schools are the very essence of our democracy, and they need to be the strongest schools in the county, but that does not mean we brush aside people who make different choices. My parents, me and my wife, we could have made a different choice. We toured private school, but it all goes back to rebuilding trust with our communities, and then I also support transitioning to a K-8 model so that our community schools are not just places somewhere someone goes because they're the closest school to the bus stop. You go there because you're connected, the community connected, the city is backing it, the businesses are backing it. My kids go to Oldsmar, and we're doing just that, and we're excited to see how that plays out.
Schools that are functioning at only 65 to 75% of their capacity. And how would you make that determination, which schools to involve in that process?
Yeah, so I'm not going to commit or entertain the idea of closing high schools at this point. I would need to see the district's recommendation and the why. I went to the Cross Bayou Listen and Learn session when they were talking about closing that school, and it was heartbreaking. You want to learn empathy, you go be part of those conversations. You listen to the community. Obviously, we're going to look at data. I ran a multi-million-dollar grant through the Department of Juvenile Justice where we had to serve 145 youth per day. And we understood that if our census dropped, that affect operation costs, for sure. So what do? We got to do? We got to retain who we have, and we got to recruit more to our services. My skill set is I have a company where I focus on communication and messaging, and I will help rebuild our community's trust in our schools so we're not talking about closing these high schools.
What responsibilities, if any, should districts assume for dealing with such societal problems as poverty, hunger, emotional illness, drug abuse, and sex education and sex orientation?
Yeah, so this is a passion for me, so I'm going to try to do this in 1 minute. There's a couple different things happening. All behavior is a symptom of our experiences, what we think, what we feel. We could say just focus on education, but if that child was up till 5 a.m. because various things happened at the house, it's easier said than done. The other issue is when we have these resources in our community, my company receives at least 9 emails a day of various resources in our community that are free that specifically help youth with these needs. We need to eliminate the bureaucracy, let our schools partner with these organizations that can fill in the gaps where the budget can't. And my last thing on this, I talked to a teacher in St. Pete, and he said that they had to make a decision to either cut their guidance counselor or their science teacher. Tell me how that helps the population that we're trying to serve. And you could guess what they did. They cut the guidance counselor. So guess where that responsibility falls? Goes to the teacher, who now has 10 additional jobs, and who suffers? That student. We should be prioritizing our underserved students. That's my background, and that's exactly what I'll do.
What kind of effect, and I'll fill in some of the blanks, do you think the amendment to reduce property taxes for those with homestead exemptions will have on education? According to the reports from the state, $5 billion will be the impact the first year it goes in.
Yeah, so first, it hasn't passed yet. It's going to be on the ballot in November. So anyone considering voting yes on that, I would say more money, more problems. So maybe you don't need the extra money. Look, even though it's not going to affect schools directly, libraries, rec centers, I have a friend who's running for city council, and he gave me some feedback that where are they going to cut? We're going to cut libraries, and we're going to cut rec centers. Where do we think our kids go after they leave school? You know, when I met kids, when I was a case manager, the #1 safe place we could go was a library. In fact, when we transition to K-8 models, the pitch of transitioning to a K-8 model is so you could collaborate with your local rec centers and libraries. So how's that promise going to work now? So my very first role here is the messaging to educate and inform voters before that November, the items on the ballot, and let's have it not happen. I'm an optimistic guy, Al. Thank you.
Okay. With fewer students, there will be fewer dollars to spend. What would be the first things that you would look to cut in the budgets, and you're willing to go on the record right now saying what you would protect?
Yeah, so on a personal note, this is a little bit of a tough conversation for me to have when we talk about budget cuts, because the funding per student is already $4,000 below the national average. Teachers are already being paid 50th in the nation, and we have universal vouchers that are taking taxpayer dollars with no income caps. And we want to talk about budget cuts. Imagine that. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook could put all 3 kids in public school, or excuse me, in private school, and get $8,000 each, no income caps. So this is a tough conversation for me to have, but anytime I'm making budget cuts, I'm going to look at it in 3 quick ways. One, how does it affect the teacher? As we already talked about, we have teacher retention issues. They're already low paid. The budget cut shouldn't directly affect them. 2, how close is the money to the school experience, the youth experience? If we're going to cut, we need to look as far away as possible from the student experience. I hate to say this, but I am a consultant. Maybe we need to look at our consultant contracts. And then the other thing is I'm never going to cut any programs or funding that directly impact underserved and at-risk students. That's just not going to happen. And we need to advocate for income caps on vouchers.
Mr. Douglas. Mr. Campogni.
So the question was, should we continue to support a referendum that puts more money in the teachers' pockets?
Or find another source.
Yes, and both. Yes, we already have teacher retention issues and recruitment issues. You want to send the wrong message to teachers of Pinellas County, you don't support that. So absolutely, we should continue to support that and look for additional ways to bring funding into our schools. I love this topic as well. I teach workshops to young people transitioning into college on AI literacy, because there are pros and cons to it. There's a lot of cons, and it terrifies me as a father. But then I also have to keep in the back of my brain is when elevators were invented, people were like, you're too lazy, take the stairs, right? There's always that initial pushback on technology. That's why we need to come in and inform, educate, and raise awareness about the pros of it. I think the other thing we need to do is really empower our teachers in the classroom to get creative in how they get the students away from the screens. I saw in Hillsborough County, they did a garden outside of the school, and they used it as an analogy for teaching growth and hands-on and critical thinking. I think we need to empower our teachers to do that while also understanding that it's coming, it's here, it's already here, and where it's going to be 5 years from now, it's terrifying. So we need to get ahead of it and be proactive and educate our families, our teachers, and our students in the AI literacy.
What needs to change? Mr. Campogni, you're going to go first on this.
Okay, so the short answer, and this is based off the communication I've had with parents, is no, we are not doing enough. I will tell you, I will be the type of school board member that 100% focuses on this problem because this is where my background is. I ran at-risk youth programs where we served 145 youth per day, and we never had a weapon incident or a fight in our program because it's about a balance of accountability and inspiring change. And what I mean by that is if they break the policy or they break the rules, there has to be accountability, and you need to have strong leadership on site that knows how to handle when that issue occurs. Don't just send the kid right back into the classroom. But then if you also want to solve the problem, you need to find out what's at the core of the problem. We have enrollment declines. We shouldn't just be moving the problem until we eventually move the child to Florida virtual school where they don't even have a computer and then they fall behind even more. So we need to balance compliance versus change, have accountability, but then also find out what's leading to the issue. And one more thing about behavior and equity. If you want to talk about equity, a really good way to determine how equitable a school is versus another is how many people that student have fighting for them. In those schools where those students don't have a career coach, a mentor, programs with wraparound services, we need to make sure that we're allocating resources to have that happen. That's an amazing stop sign. Thank you, everybody. I love this topic.
Curtis.
I'm going to do something that when you're running for office, you should not do. I'm going to do it anyways. I am not asking for your vote. I am asking for your partnership. And what I mean by that is when I'm driving and we're using Google Maps and we see that there's an object on the road notification, it hit me. Somebody had to participate in caring what was behind them. They had to put a notification in to say, I am caring about things that are bigger than me. That's how that notification is. It is building a legacy for those that will come after you. And I need you for that partnership. I need every parent, I need every teacher, I need every administrator, I need everyone in our community to take an active role in our public education. I am asking you on August 18th to join the partnership. Let's make it a team and let's elevate Pinellas County schools.